Hey folks, welcome back. I know it's been a while since I updated this channel, and I've had some major health stuff going on that's really kept me from doing work the way I wanted to, but we're starting back up. I've got so many things I want to do, so many projects. I've got shelves full of ideas. I know I had video projects and series in the works that there are some people that kind of want to see me get done with them and finish them up, and I'm going to, I promise. But we're coming back with another one of these kind of walkarounds of a finished project. And this is one of those model rescues where I kind of took over something that somebody had in the works and that they asked me to kind of take over and fix up for them a little bit. And it's kind of a what if. No, it is a what if. It's a what if, but based on something that we see a lot in the news and on the internet lately. And it's been a handful, let me tell you. So what we're looking at is an Italeri 172 scale Ka-52 Hokum B. Now, I know some people would pronounce this a Ka-52. Listen, in the U.S. Air Force, there was a lot of things that we pronounced the letters, like Sukhoi. We called it a Su. Tupolev, we called them twos, not TUs, and of course there's MiG, which we pronounce as a word, but Kamovs were not one that we pronounced. They were just KAs. So to my experience, this is a KA, not a Ka. But the Ka-52 is, right now, we see it a lot in the news. It's a Russian advanced attack helicopter. And as an old Air Force guy, you know, I hate admitting when anybody has hardware that's pretty good, that has some advantages over our own stuff. But the Hokum, it has some ability. Avionics wise, I wouldn't trust it against anything we have, but as an airframe, the Russians never were bad engineers. And this thing can fly and it can maneuver. It just weapons wise and avionics wise, I might upset some people saying this. I wouldn't put it up against the best that the West has to offer on a 1-for-1 match, but you can still, a well-trained crew can get some results. Now, I'm not here to, do politics, talk about the war, or any of that. I'm just here to talk about the aircraft and the model. This is an interesting model because as you're looking at it, some people might notice that this does not entirely look like the Ka-52 that we see in videos, because this was an interesting model. This is another one of those where they put the model out based on the best info they had at the time. It's kind of an older kit. You're not going to find this around very much anymore. This is discontinued. So let me show you the model that it comes from. It's Italeri's kit number 005. Italeri first put this kit out in 1999. Tamiya reboxed it, exact same kit, in 2001, and then Italeri just reboxed it themselves in 2007 and 2011. Modelist reboxed it in the 2000 teens as well. So it's been around a while. You can still find it on eBay. It's kind of a pricey kit to pick up these days if you're interested in it. The funny thing is, though, it does not represent the modern Hokum that we see on the battlefield today. What this kit is based on, and when they put it out, the 52 was not a production combat aircraft. It was in production. It was an idea. And what we're looking at here, and some real telltale signs, are the nose section with the smaller radome and this under chin sensor pod, the optics ball on top of the cockpit, and some other smaller features here and there around the aircraft, some of the exhaust and some other things. This was a rollout. This is what the world first saw the Ka-52 look like in 1995 at the Paris Air Show. Now, the actual Ka-52 is performed at subsequent Paris Air Shows, the final version. But in 1995, Russia put out a movie called Black Shark, which starred the Ka-50, the original Hokum. The Ka-50 never really went on to widespread military service either, but it sure looked cool in an all-black paint job with Black Shark painted on the tail. In 1996, they put out the proposed design for the Ka-52 in the same black paint job with alligator on the tail. And that really kind of captivated the world. That was not a flyable prototype. Now, just like with any aircraft, there's the initial rollout where they show it to the world, the unveiling. Most of those are not flyable prototypes. The actual first flight wouldn't be till 1997, and it would not be in this format. It would take some design changes even then, and obviously it would go through a number of changes before we see the combat version in the air that we see today. But this is the model kit that is out there in the world. Even Zvezda today puts out this version of the Ka-50, and a little different. So like this kit has two complete fuselage left right halves that go together. The Zvezda kit separates the forward fuselage at the cockpit area here, and there's an aftermarket resin kit that you can get with a number of other external pieces and changes to give you the forward section for the correct modern day 52 that flies with the Russian VKS, if you want to model that. But this is not really what the 52 looks like that we see on the battlefield today. But this is the most widely available kit of it. It's the only available kit. Like I said, even the Zvezda kit that you can still get now is not accurate because it's this old 1995, 1996 rollout model, and it's not updated. And I don't know why. I don't know why nobody's put out the current day Hokum B. You can get a modern day 52, and they're very hard to find also, but in 148. You can get the Ka-50 in 172, and that's mostly accurate, by Italeri and Zvezda also, by Dragon, by a couple other companies, but the 52 has just been kind of an elusive kit. So when I got my hands on this thing, it had issues. We had problems with the rotor system. We had definite problems with the landing gears already being broken. There was just some issues. And, me, with the health problems I had being mostly respiratory, there's not a lot of painting and airbrushing I could do at the time. Not in any, even, I know, wear a mask, wear paint, but I didn't have the wind in my lungs. So it was not a lot of work, even just sitting down, that I could focus on at a time for any long period of time. So I just worked on this in very slow bits. And I kind of enjoyed the process. Now the kit itself, it's not a bad kit. It has recessed panel lines that are pretty good, and you can see they hold the wash nicely. It goes together fairly easily. There are some really frustrating parts, like these handles, these little air scoops, lots of little parts that just say, the instructions say glue here, but they don't really, there's no positioning, no locators for it. You just put them on. These little steps up by the cockpit and these little handles break very easily. A lot of these have been replaced with just steel bent wire because they broke off. There's no real directions for the pitot tube. Now this has a lot of the same sprue that comes with the Ka-50 kit, and this is part of the Ka-50, so I just modified that to go on in the logical place where it should be. Cockpit is pretty bare. Not a lot going on in there. At least there's a decal that sort of represents kind of the modern glass cockpit that should be in there. Not much. You've got seats molded with some straps and everything, but again, not much going on. At least you've got some pneumatic tubing, pistons for holding that's the one door that opens. There's that going for it. But it is a relatively simple build, assuming you can work out the instructions. They're a little, like I said, they're a little lacking. What I decided to do, because everybody and their mother has done this in black, and the only markings really are for the alligator. There's paint instructions for the standard. At the time, it was Russian Army, the standard, yellow earth with green squiggles. I wanted to do something a little bit different. Now today, like I said, the VKS, the Aerospace Forces, flies this, which is Russian Air Force. I just wanted to do something different because it was not going to come out as, I mean, obviously this is not the helicopter that is flown by the right guys anyway. So I decided to do something a little bit different. And it was all inspired by the armament that comes in the kit. So in the kit, and if you look at, I'll show you the picture again. Comes with some very prominent missiles, one of which is this AA-11. That's in NATO speak. In Russian, it's R-73 Archer, which is an insane missile for a helicopter to carry. It's a very good air-to-air missile, relatively speaking, of course. The kit also comes with what appears to be some version of the AS-10 Karen. Russian designation would be the Kh-25. Which, again, very heavyweight kind of missile for a tactical helicopter to carry. Could it do it? Probably. I wouldn't put it past him to design it for it, but have we seen it in combat carrying that? Nah, not really. It's more of a tactical aircraft weapon. Fixed-wing aircraft weapon, not a helicopter weapon. But I love the idea of these guys tooling around with a dogfighting missile. Because this helicopter, like I said, it can maneuver. So I decided I was gonna build it with the Archer on there. Now let's talk about that. The Apache and the Super Cobra can carry the Sidewinder. They were tested with it, and yes, it's a valid weapon. But both the U.S. Army and the U.S. Marine Corps decided, no, we are not going to officially roll out into combat carrying that weapon, because they found that pilots, when equipped with a dogfighting missile, were prone to dump their air-to-ground mission in favor of any opportunity to shoot down another pilot. It's just a way of life. Not to mention, it's a very heavy weapon for the aircraft. So there are provisions for both American helicopters to carry the FIM-92 Stinger missile in a version called the AIM-92 Stinger missile. Now, I know that there are options for former Soviet and Russian helicopters to carry their versions of, man-pad missiles, air-to-air wise, and they do. But something about carrying this big old air-to-air missile, relatively speaking, again, on a helicopter I loved. So I put it on there. And I said, if we're going to do that, if we're going to throw in this dogfighting, which is actually a pretty capable, infrared guided dogfighting missile, I want a helicopter to go with that. And so I decided I was going to forego all the traditional paint jobs and give it a Russian Air Force paint job that I liked. And I decided to dress it up in the same paint scheme as a MiG-29, which I think looks pretty good on this airframe. We see this in two real paint schemes in real Russian service. Again, the standard Russian helicopter, dark green over that earth yellowish brown. And we see it in kind of the eggplant gray. And that's mostly for naval service, but the Russian Air Force does that too. But in a tactical environment, and where's that gray? But I'm like, hey, if we're out there with the dogfighting missile, let's give it a dogfighting paint scheme. And I really like the way it came out. Now, I consulted a couple references for this color scheme and for MiG-29 instructions, and just about everybody wants you to mix paint colors of any brand almost to come up with this light green color. The gray color is really simple. It's actually dark roast gray. Simple FS color. There was one reference I found in a Great Wall Hobby kit for the light green. And it's this guy, FS34424, and lo and behold, Ammo of MiG makes exactly that color. And I think it's a perfect match. I think it looks really, really good on this shape, and I really, really liked it. So the markings came from, all the stenciling comes from the kit, and I don't know how old that kit is. I mean, theoretically, it's at least 10 years old at a minimum. And possibly all the way back to the 90s, right? All the stenciling decal, all those markings, all over the ship, went on perfectly. Standard microsol microset. All of the Russian stars, the Russian Air Force, and the Bort numbers, that all comes from an Italeri MiG-29 kit, which is also fitting that it went on here. Now, it is missing a couple things from a modern Russian marking set, you know, the RF numbers, a couple other things, but I worked with what I had, and I think it kind of, it wears the markings really well. I mean, the color scheme goes pretty good. Typically, there's, you know, the forward area here around the windscreen has like this wavy, kind of almost camouflage black. But again, sticking with the MiG-29, MiG-29s always have that very nice demarcated, squared off black around the front windscreen. So I did that for this guy too. All of the dielectric panels, antennas, the front radome area, I gave it the dark gray, just like the MiG-29 would have. I wanted that to speak to the same color scheme. That's what I was thinking anyway. So the ECMs / flare, chaff and flare pods on the wingtips, antennas, even your Doppler radar antennas on the bottom. No one will probably ever see them, but I did them all in the same dark gray, which I think I ended up using gunship gray for that. Thought that would look good. And then just honestly standard colors for all around. Standard Russian light blue interior. Little different dark gull gray for the optics, just to make them stand out a little bit more, you know. The BV-820 pods here, the rocket launcher pods, reusable rocket launcher pods, those are just standard. You see them on just about every Russian attack helicopter out in the world today. The S-8 series unguided rocket is like the Russian Air Force's bread and butter. They've been using them for a while, and they're going to use them forever and ever. Normally, instead of this Archer over here, you're going to see another rack of 6 of these AT-16 Vickers, the Whirlwind anti-tank missiles, ATGMs. That would be a typical armament load. You know, there's another hard point that the Ka-52 can throw under there. But this is, again, they're going out off the original 1995-1996 showing of what this guy brought to the air show. Because of the monetary problems that you know, Russia went through after the fall of the Soviet Union, it took them from 1996. This thing didn't go into actual production and military service. I mean, full military service until 2010. Now, they were able to produce some in various designs. Really, they started producing in 2008, but it didn't enter full service until 2010. And it took them a long time to refine that design and get it to where it wanted to be. Now, one of the hallmarks of the Komov Design Bureau was the counter-rotating rotor system. One of the things that people really get surprised when they see one of these helicopters is, where's the tail rotor? Well, it doesn't need one. Through a genius gear transmission system, both these engines feed up through the transmission. One turns... I shouldn't say one of the engines turns one of the rotors. I mean, all the engine power turns one of the rotors one way and the other rotor the other way, so the torque cancels each other out. So you don't need that tail rotor to counter the torque of the main rotor. That means that all of your power goes to the rotor itself. The rotor in a helicopter is, it's not people think that the engine exhaust pushes it along like an aircraft. That's not it. All of your directional control comes from the pitch angle of your rotor blades. So quite simply, a setup like this with your contra-rotating rotors, all of the energy that goes to the main rotors, none needs to be siphoned off to turn the tail rotor, which really just controls it doing this to keep it from spinning out of control from the torque of the main rotor. So that's what allows the Ka-52 to go fast, to turn fast, to do maneuvers that other helicopters might not be able to do, because it has just more percentage of power coming from its engines directly to the rotor system. And it works. I mean, it really does work. It has speed and it has maneuverability that very few other helicopters have. Now, unfortunately, the Italeri whole rotor system is very basic, and putting it together is going to be a little bit of a challenge. There's no good landmark. There's a couple little landmarks. There's flat areas that When you're putting this together, you can put these columns where they need to go. It could be much more detailed. There's detail missing, obviously, especially in the columns here. There's stuff that doesn't go. This longbow style radar antenna it's not on the final version, and it's only on a few models of these early versions too. It's not on all of them. So that's there. Originally, as this got to me, there was this whole deck was installed in a weird way, and it ended up, it was slanted, and the rotors were actually back, and if you tried to spin them, they were hitting the vertical stabilizer. So it took a little bit. They're glued in. They will free spin, but they will only go one way because it's one piece. The rotor shaft, these are actually two different shafts, one spinning inside the other in the real thing. It's one piece, so you can spin the rotor with your finger, but it goes one way or the other, which doesn't really work out with the real thing, you know? But I had to glue it in place in the end, just to... The way it works is when you put this together, there's a little ring, you put the rotor shaft through, you glue it to the ring in the bottom when you're building the engine deck in there, and the whole thing, but you got to make sure that this is... Anyway, these are glued in place. They don't move anymore, unfortunately. And that is what it is. These are actually representative of real colors on the original prototype a little bit. I had a little fun though. I found myself a bottle of original Tester's enamel brass, which is such a great color. So I used that, and then a little chrome silver with blue candy ink from Green Stuff World. And then I did the same colors on the little ET ball back there, a little bit of gold, just to give some fun color to the optics, and then just a touch of Alclad Aqua Gloss to make it look like it had a little glass lens on it. Some color to draw the eye to, like a real sensor would have. The gunner would be primarily using, I don't know which one to tell you the truth on this. And then the pilot would have duplicate sensors for night vision, for infrared, for all sorts of stuff. So they should, some of the lenses should match between the two. Laser rangefinder, there's a laser designator for missiles, like I said, infrared, night vision, actual, electro-optical, TV cameras, and multiple things in there. The reason that this looks a little lopsided is because these are molded with a certain pitch angle installed. So they do look like they're kind of slanting that way, down that way as they're installed, but they're all good. Not much to talk about on the bottom. Very, very sparse detail on the landing gears. These are weak. Oh, these landing gears are giving me so much trouble. So they came broken. They snapped right in the oleo position there. I've glued them together about 3 times, and then finally, I can't remember which one, and I don't really want to point it out and jinx it. One of them then, as I was repairing it, the whole main strut snapped from inside the fuselage, and fixing that, I actually was watching a whole documentary on the downing of Korean Airlines Flight 007 while I was fixing that. It was fitting, destruction upon destruction. So these landing gear are very crooked and lopsided right now. That's not the way they come out of the box. It's just the only way I could get them to sit and set and have it hold any weight on it. And I'm afraid that over time, sitting on a shelf, they're just going to break. So when I ship this back to the guy, it's going to, I don't know. But I've talked to him and let him know, listen, once landing gears break, unless you're going to drill them out and insert steel rod and like a bone, like insert steel pins in a bone, they're going to be broken. But they are what they are. They're very bendy, weak landing gears to begin with. To fix this whole rotor system, by the way, I actually had to sacrifice. I couldn't get my hands on another kit for any decent amount, but I actually had the Ka-50 kit, and they're virtually the same kit minus the fuselage. So I sacrificed the rotor setup from the Ka-50 to actually rebuild all this, which worked out pretty well. I was about to try to tear out these landing gear and use the Ka-50 ones, but it just, because they're glued in to, I was going to have to drill out everything, and it was just, if I could get it to sit, and I talked to the guy who actually owns a helicopter, he said, look, if you can just get it to sit, I don't care if they're crooked or anything, just don't kill yourself trying to do it. And I agreed with him. I don't want to kill myself trying to do it. So we're happy with that setup. Basic weathering is just some enamel washes, little Tamiya gray. They're all gray, not black. I didn't want giant, like very boom in your face black panels sticking out. That's a little unrealistic, a little toy-like, but dark gray, and not every single panel is washed as dark as the others to give it a little realistic kind of look. But we've got panel wash around, and like I said, the panels take the wash really nicely on this old kit. They really do. And then just some chalk pastel weathering along, especially where there's some exhaust areas and where that 30mm gun would be firing, and on the bottom where some rockets would leave some exhaust and everything. It would, like I said, it was just more of a, hey, can help me fix this thing. I've screwed it up. Do whatever you want. Just help me build this. And I said, all right, bro, I gotcha. So it was a frustrating but an interesting kit to build, and it's kind of not a lot of history in this particular model because not a lot of people recognize this as the Ka-52. This is more of what the modeling world sees as the Ka-52. There's roughly between 80 and 100 actual Hokum Bs that have been built and put into service with the Russian forces. Not a big historic, most people wouldn't have known it existed until all this mess in Ukraine. It's a cool looking helicopter, and if you didn't know, really interesting, it's a helicopter with ejection seats. When they pull to punch out, the rotor blades explosively separate, and then they punch through the canopies. I don't know, honestly, if the canopies come off or if they just go right through them. But it's a helicopter with fighter-style ejection seats. A lot of cool technology went into this helicopter, and it's capable of a lot of stuff. I love this paint job. I love this paint job on this helicopter. I think I've always loved the colors on the MiG-29, although I hate the MiG-29 for a number of reasons that go back into my training, knowing the true drawbacks of the MiG-29 and what it can, and most importantly, what it can't do. But we're gonna do that in a future video series, talking about the MiG-29, the Fulcrum A and the Fulcrum C, and the differences, and some other stuff. I got some great markings planned for that. So thanks for hanging with me for my return to the channel here. So upcoming, I've got another walk around on a what if project like this, and then I've got then we'll go back to full build videos, and we'll got a couple brand new projects. We're gonna get back to finishing. Listen, we've got the Rogel Dorn we've got to get painted. We've got that M4A3 that we've got to finish up. I've got so much cool stuff planned for this channel, and so many cool projects that I think you guys are really gonna love, including looking at the late 90s, what one company thought this helicopter was gonna look like before it was released. Kind of similar to what some companies did with the F-117, the stealth fighter in America. What they thought the Hokum was gonna be. Oh, it's gloriously not anything realistic at all, but it's awesome. So I hope that you guys will stick with me. I really appreciate everybody that has subscribed, and if everybody would hit that like button, subscribe, share with your friends, get them over here to join in the fun. I know I don't produce the best videos out there, but I do enjoy doing the work. So thanks everybody for joining me. Tell me, do you like these kind of finished build walkarounds with a little bit of the history lesson, or do you prefer to see the work as it goes on, the full builds? Or would you like something in between where maybe you just see each of the major steps done and I kind of do a voiceover as we're going? I'd like to know how to tailor it towards what most people want to see. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching and joining me for my big return back to the YouTube world here. And for everybody else doing their own out in YouTube, remember, keep building them, build them well. And I will see you guys for the next one real soon.